Hello and welcome to SEO Rankings Do Follow podcast. Here we hold regular talks with SEO and digital marketing experts to discuss hot SEO topics and share actionable insights with the SEO community. So subscribe to stay on top of everything going on in SEO. Today, we're going to discuss the trends and updates that made an impact in 2022, as well as get your SEO strategies ready for the year ahead. To help us do this, we invited seasoned SEO, digital marketing, and Google Business Profile experts. Give a warm welcome to Colan Nielsen, Yan Gilbert, and Sherry Bonelli. Hi, Sherry. Thank you for doing this with us. Could you please say a couple of more words about yourself?
Hi, Andrew. Yeah, my name is Sherry Bonelli. I'm the owner of Early Bird Digital Marketing. And as Andrew mentioned, I am a Google Business Profile Platinum Product Expert. And I'm also a LinkedIn learning instructor. I've been doing digital marketing for 25 plus years now.
Awesome. Thanks again for being here. We are also joined by Sterling Sky's VP of Local Search, Colan Nielsen. Happy to have you join us, Colan. Tell us a bit more about yourself, please.
Yeah, thanks for having me. As it says there, I'm the Vice President of Local Search at Sterling Sky. We are an agency who focuses specifically on local SEO. We go really deep on Google Business Profile related optimizations. I've been doing local SEO since 2010, and I'm also a Google Business Profile Product Experts like Sherry and Yan. And just excited to share some local SEO thoughts and stuff as we head into 2023.
Great. Last but not least, Yan Gilbert is here, creator of Local Falcon, senior SEO at Sterling Sky, and founder of Yan Gilbert Consulting. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, Yan. A couple of words about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, just like you mentioned, product expert like everyone else here, work with Colan at Sterling Sky. Just love helping business owners and agencies get better at what they do.
All right. Looks like everyone's been introduced and we are good to go. Let's start off our discussion with the first question. How does one become a GBP expert? Sherry?
It's magic. No, actually, we could all probably talk about it. Google has a Google Business Profile Help Forum. One of the ways that you can become a product expert is by answering questions on the Google Business Profile Help Forum, answering them consistently, frequently, and answering the questions correctly. Guys, do you have anything else to add to that? Because Google will hopefully notice that you're contributing to the community, because that's what being a product expert is all about. It's about helping other users with problems that they have with Google Business Profile.
Yeah, anything you guys want to add to that?
The other thing I would add is if you're truly interested in becoming a product expert, know that there's a product experts program for basically every Google product. So it's not just Google Business Profile. There's a Google Maps forum as well, for instance. My tip would be, if you're truly interested, find an existing product experts and try and reach out to them. Try and network with existing product experts, because they're most of them are more than willing to mentor and to guide people who really want to take a crack at it.
Oh, and by the way, I want to point out that GBP Product Experts, as in our panel here today, are not officially employed by Google. So don't go thinking that you can start something here. Just these people are volunteers that help us, the users, figure out how to take advantage of Google's tools. So nothing more to that, but just be kind to our panel of experts. Let's continue this discussion with not a question, but more of a statement. And I want to see how you guys, what your thoughts are on this. So I want to talk about on-site SEO strategies for the next year. Sherry, could you please start addressing this statement?
Yeah. And I think we're all going to kind of jump in on this. I think when it comes to on-site SEO strategies, obviously using SEO best practices, like title tags, description tags, so that when you do show up in search results, people are going to want to click on your links. That's important, even though they don't necessarily directly to contribute to rankings. But what I think one of the most important things to focus on right now is content. With Google's helpful content update, with the algorithm, they're not calling them algorithms now, they're calling them something else. I can't remember right now.
System
updates. Thank you. Writing great content is going to be one of the most important things, and showing your authority, and not just writing great content, but answering as many questions about that particular topic as you can is on that page is going to be very important. And so internal linking to other topics related to that topic is going to be really important. So anchor text matters. Make sure you add media to that page, like videos, photos, because Google's system update can recognize videos. I mean, they can understand what's in a video without even schema markup. It's incredible. They can understand that there's a video about a horse without even any markup. Their artificial intelligence is incredible. So try and make your pages as rich and robust and authoritative and complete as possible.
Great. Colan, Yan, do you have any contributions to this?
Yeah, I think if I was to single out one specific, maybe not strategy, but a tactic to really focus on is internal linking. And with larger websites, I think there's some wonderful like plugins and ways you can automate some of your internal linking out there. But I think when it comes specifically to small to medium-sized business websites, if you can be very strategic and precise with like the anchor text that you're using with your internal linking, and really doing it like page by page as you're optimizing pages, nailing down the internal linking to other related pages with good anchor text. That's going to go a long way in 2023 for sure.
I kind of went before you because that's what I was going to say.
You tell me where to
fine, I'm good. Yeah, exactly. So just to add to that, like I get questions like, oh, should we have a blog or not have a blog? And it depends on the category and the business, of course. But if you do have a blog, one of the weaknesses is definitely one of those is the internal linking. Like you want to use your blog to write about, especially if you're local, write about like a job or a project that you did, and not just write about it, but like use that to link to other places. And that's one of the things that I often see is not optimized well, is not only the internal linking on your service pages, but all your other blog pages to use that for high, to localize your content a little bit more.
And I think, Jan, that's a good point. I'll just throw this out there real quickly. I think everyone thinks when they think content, they think blog. It doesn't have to be a blog. You can add more content about services that you offer, and those can be pages on your site, and you link to those pages from other pages. So I think people automatically think content needs to be a blog, and it doesn't have to be. It can be more pages on your site. So think about that too.
Good point. Thank you. We already have a question coming in. So is optimizing Google business listing through backlinks, does it really add value? Is this a practice? Is this a common practice at all?
It's so if you're referring to building links, say to the actual GBP page itself, with the CID number, maps, URL, we've done some testing on that. We've got a couple articles on the Sterling Sky blog and saw no impact specifically related to that. If you're building links to the actual page that's on the website that's linked to from the GBP profile, you'll probably find some benefits to doing that.
Great point. Thanks a lot. We have another question. Thinking about the year as it's coming to a close, which technical or strategic change had the most impact on SEO rankings in 2022? Yeah, it looks like we're tackling the big issues first. Any takers?
I think as far as technical goes, I mean, the Core Web Vitals update, we're still, I think, kind of waiting to see how that really impacts rankings. But we know that speed is something that's really important to Google. So that's a technical aspect that I think is something that everyone needs to pay attention to. Unfortunately, it's really a challenge if you have a big website or you have lots of photos to make your site load fast. The other thing that I think is important is the fact that you need to make sure that your site is meant for the user and not for the search engines. And I think that's something that Google is going to really, really press hard about moving forward, is they're going to penalize sites that are written technically and SEO optimized for Google versus the user. So if you have a site that you've heavily optimized with, best plumber in Chicago, if you're looking for a plumber in Chicago and that's riddled throughout your site, you may start seeing your site drop because Google starting to get wise even more that you're not writing for the user, you're writing for Google. So I think as far as those types of things, that's something that I think has been a big change.
Yeah, well, I'll just add to what Sherry said. I'm seeing still some benefits with like removal of keyword stuffing. Like it seems fairly obvious, and it's an old school thing that people used to keyword stuff. But go through a page, and if you have the same word or phrase appearing 20 times on that page, try removing some of it. Try going down to 13, 10 or something, and rearrange the wording. Use variations. I've definitely fixed pages, a lot of pages on different sites, specifically for keyword stuff, and where you think, I used to work and now it doesn't work. So
I could throw out one more. I guess this would be in the technical camp. Something we've seen work well this year, especially on the local side with the local algorithm, is decreasing the amount of folders. So let's just say you have a location page, for instance, and it's business.com/state/category/city. Getting that last folder as close as possible to the homepage on the local side of the house, we've seen that be quite impactful.
That's interesting. That's a really good point.
Okay, let's move on to citations and local SEO. Let's start by discussing what should we focus on when we think about citations in 2023, as in how do we build up our GBP listing in 2023?
For sure. I find some people have moved into a camp of maybe citations don't matter at all anymore. I definitely think they still matter, but just in different ways than traditionally we've thought about them. So for instance, the way I like to think about citations is really focusing on like what are the top directory sites that are actually ranking for branded searches typically, and then like going further, what directory sites are taking advantage of review schema, right? So when you do show up with a profile, it's got the review snippets. Some of the directory sites are using FAQ schema these days. So like focusing on those types of things and building out your branded kind of Google homepage, if you will. That's kind of how I like to think about directories these days.
yeah, so to add to that, do a branded search, and then look at and sometimes if your business name is a little bit too generic, just add in your address in the search bar there, and then Google will return those. Look at those first results, the first page, first 10 if you're not scrolling results now, and see which citations are showing up, and just take a look and make sure that those directories have the right information, obviously, but those would be the most important ones that Google is returning for your name, and make sure those are correct. Another thing to add is also check the reviews there. I looked at a business recently, and we did a branded search, and they had like a Facebook and a Yelp show up in Google there, second and third after their website, and they only had like one review in Facebook, which was a 5-star, but it was showing up with the snippets with the yellow stars there. Pay attention to that, because one extra bad review is going to bring your 5 to 2.5, right? And that's going to show up right below your website for a branded search potentially. So if you don't have a lot of reviews on those larger citations, and they're getting pulled into the first page of Google for branded search, or sometimes even they get pulled into like reviews from the web section on your knowledge panel, pay attention to those, and try to boost some of those reviews. If you have 1 or 2, even though they might be great, one bad one will really tank that average down. And so people pay attention. It's like, oh, they have 5.5 or 5 on 5 stars on the Google listing, but they have a 2 on Facebook. What's going on? And they'll go visit there, because people seek out those negative. They want to see what the differences sometimes are. So just pay attention to those citations, specifically the ones that are pulling in reviews for you.
And there are also a lot of niche directories that you want to try and get reviews on as well, like Avo for attorneys, cars.com for car dealerships and stuff like that. So pay attention to those niche directories and try and get listed on those as well, because those will be beneficial too.
Thank you, guys. Let's move over to the GBP section and discuss it a bit in more detail. So what is upcoming in the world of Google Business Profile? And the question is, how has the change from the Google Business Manager to managing Google Business Profiles in Google Search, aka New Merchant Experience, impacted the user experience? Sherry, Colan, would you like to take this one?
I can start real quick. I think first, it's made it more difficult for agencies to manage multiple business profiles. It was a lot easier from the business profile manager when you could see your whole list of clients and manage them directly from that interface. It's much more difficult, having to manage from search when you have multiple businesses that you're managing. And it's even, I think, been controversial from what I can see on the help file for even individual merchants. I've seen a lot of negative comments about that. I don't know if you guys have seen that from merchants as well, about not liking the search experience for managing their profiles. Supposedly, it's easier for people to manage, and I think Google's going to be making changes to refine things and add new features and stuff like that. But it's been a little controversial. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm a little bit opposite in terms of, I think, how it's settled with me, which I think is kind of rare talking to most people. I think it's a good change. Personally, one of the things I do like about the fact that you're editing things kind of directly in the search results now is it really forces you to, daily or however often you're working on that client or your business to look at your branded search, your knowledge panel. So you're probably going to see things more often, like some of the stuff Yan was saying with review profiles, with low review scores, stuff like that. So I think it's good for that. It was definitely designed with business owners in mind, not agencies. That's pretty clear. So definitely a learning curve on it. Personally, I enjoy it. We don't manage too many massive multi-location businesses. So I get there's some challenges there. But even sort of the back end, what's the name of the back end still? It's we can edit. Hold on.
The business profile manager.
The business profile manager. Thank you. Yeah. So you can still do stuff in there at sort of like a high level. You can discard, you can like open, close listings, remove them. But all the individual editing, you're going to find yourself directly in search. And yeah, it seems like overall it's been challenging for people to accept, understandably.
And it's almost like an Easter egg hunt these days, because it's like you found something the other day. I saw something, live where, there's a red dot now when you get new messages. Consumers and people searching can now see a red dot. And this has been a while now. I think when you have a new post, they'll see a red dot on mobile next to update so they can see that there's an update. The problem is I don't know that everybody knows what the red dot means. So that's the only issue with that. But what did you find? You found something the other day, Colan. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, and that's like another good point, is just keeping an eye on the new merchant experience, because there's a little carousel of these different cards or modules or whatever you want to call them, and it seems like every day somebody's tweeting about a new one that has shown up there. And there was one the other day where Google is now prompting the business owner to add a map to your website. So you kind of click on that, it takes you to this the sort of like custom map interface, where, if you're a multi-location, you can build a nice map highlighting all your locations, which you can then embed on your website. There's ways to do that before, but it's kind of nice that Google is making this more obvious and providing more ways to do something like that, which is actually useful.
And, the overall thing, I find I'm getting used to it, and I've heard a lot of negative feedback too, and that's, I guess, normal every time you change something. But the overall negative, given how Google functions, is you need more clicks to get to places, whereas before you could go to the info page and there would just be a whole long list of stuff that you can scroll through and look at. Now you have to just click to all these individual things. And what makes it, besides the time and finding things, is Google changes stuff and doesn't tell anyone, or they add things and doesn't tell anyone. And you have to find it, just like it was like you found something new. It's like, well, how long did it take? How long was it there before you even recognized that it was something? Because you didn't go to that section and click 3 times and notice that they added something. That's what I find more of a pain in the butt, especially when we're doing work. There's new stuff and Google doesn't tell you that they've added things or taken things away, and you just have to find it. And we have to, go on Twitter and we have to read articles and so that's new. And people find different things randomly. I find that's the most annoying part of working in it every day.
And then not everybody has And not everybody has the new thing. Like I don't have the new map thing that I've seen yet. So it's yeah.
So you gotta be in it more, or you gotta pay attention to the people who are in it more and wait for those tweets and follow the right people, follow us and other people that are always constantly seeing and noticing. Because sometimes you'll go through it and you're not paying enough attention to notice that that's new, but it might be super important for your business to click that box or to use that feature.
Thank you. So our next question to discuss is, what are your thoughts on SABs, service area businesses, in 2023? And I think I would like to hear Colan on this question.
Yeah, I think it's always a good idea to talk about service area businesses. I know not everybody works with service area businesses or is a service area business, but there's such a big piece of like the Google business profile world in Google Maps and all that. So I think they deserve to be discussed just because they have different roles, their nuances around them. And I kind of always like to think about where Google's heading with service area businesses next year. And I try to make a prediction every single year specifically related to that. And I think as we go into 2023, we're going to see Google rolling out either more features or just updates to way things are handled for service area businesses. So remember, this is businesses that have hidden their address, right? It's not visible. They travel to the customer to do the job versus having a brick and mortar that the customer comes to. And I was looking up some stats, like home services as an industry is like expected to increase to $5.14 trillion, I think by 2026. So between now and 2026. And I just think Google is looking at that and going, we need to stay on top of that. And we need to make sure that businesses that operate in this massive industry that's growing very quickly are handled well. And so like, for instance, recently, like we're starting to see predefined service areas, for instance, being offered, which is like a new feature. Whereas before, if you're defining your service areas, you kind of have to add them in manually, which you can still do. But now sometimes when you log in, again, maybe not everybody's seen this yet, you'll see these like predefined service areas that you can select. And I just think whenever Google offers these predefined things, whether it's attributes, whatever it may be, it's really important to pay attention to those, take advantage of them, test them, see if they impact ranking, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it looks like Google's continuing to develop products for and helping SABs, which is definitely good news. If we're done with SABs, let's move on to GBP products and services. Can anyone expand on the topic, please?
Yeah, the products and services sections, I think, are kind of underutilized a lot by the business owners that are managing their business profiles. And so if you have a physical storefront and you sell products from that storefront, Google's giving you the opportunity to put those products on your Google business profile, and you can put a price on them. They're changing it from a variable price where you can have a price range. So now you have to have like a fixed price, and you can now direct them to your website. You don't have to have a website URL, but ideally it'd be nice to. So you can link to your website, and they're basically giving you a way to sell your products that you sell in your store, your physical store, because obviously you can't be an online only retailer and have a Google business profile. Let's get that clear. But if you have a physical store and you sell products, you can put those products on your Google business profile. There is a possibility that they will show up on the Google's product feed, which is nice. So you might get extra exposure that way. So it's something that I think businesses aren't taking advantage of. Now, one thing that I kind of want to make clear is some services have been putting their services as products, and that doesn't really meet Google's commerce requirements. And so if you're a landscaper, don't put lawn cutting or grass cutting as a product. That should be a service. So just kind of wanted to make that kind of clear. But definitely take advantage of those products and services sections in your Google business profile. Do you two have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, so it's hard sometimes for a single listing or small business to get all their inventory on Google, but there's a program called Pointy. If you want to do it yourself, there's a little bit of technical setup, but it connects to your point of sale system, and every time inventory comes in and out, it'll update and auto feed every day to Google so that people can see if someone's searching for a specific product and it says sold here or in stock on your listing there, so you can compete with some of the larger box stores that already have all those kind of nice features for the inventory. You need to connect that through the Merchant Center, and like I said, Pointy is one program that Google owns to try to do it yourself. If you're a larger company, you might want to go through a third party that helps facilitate all that stuff, like the DBA platform, and there's lots of choices now that will help connect your inventory to Merchant Center, and then from Merchant Center, once it has all that information, it can send it to your Google profile. You can also create inventory ads out of that, and it'll go all over the Google ecosystem. It's just send all those inventory products everywhere. So look into that. If you have, even if you're one single store, a bicycle shop, and you have parts, you can do it. And you don't have, just because a larger, again, like Walmart or Target is doing it, doesn't mean that you can't do it as well. It's just, you just have to make the effort and go through all the steps and the hoops, and eventually you'll get it done, and then you can compete on that same level.
And one of the cool things that Yan had mentioned about that is if it's managing your real-time inventory, if someone were to search for a particular product in your Google business profile, it will say that product is available or not available. If it's available, it'll say it's available, and the person doesn't have to drive around looking to see if a product's in stock. It'll show up and say that it's available. So it's really, really cool. Thank you for bringing that up, Yan.
Yeah. And sometimes, oh, sorry, go ahead, Colin.
Someone just asked in the chat, I think they missed the name. It's Pointy, Pointy. I'll hand it back over to you, Yan. But another thing, and I didn't realize this till I got blasted, Google's advertising Pointy heavily on YouTube right now. If you've seen the commercials, it's totally free. They'll ship you the hardware, 100% free, which is pretty cool.
I've done some testing that shows that once Google knows that you have something in stock, your rankings will go up for that item. So even if I did a test, and it's easy with the visuals, but I was literally standing outside of Walmart, and I typed something like potato chips or something like that, and another grocery store 2 miles away had that specific item. It came up first, and Walmart came up second, even though I was literally outside the Walmart. The other grocery store came up ahead of Walmart, even though I was much further away. So once Google has the data, it can use that data to affect the rankings too. So not guaranteed all in every item, but there's definitely done multiple tests and seen that it can affect the visibility of your listing when Google knows you have something.
And that was dill pickle potato chips, wasn't it, Yan?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And speaking of frequent updates, do they require more manual SERP checking? Yan, could you please contribute and give us more details about frequent updates?
I just find, especially this last year, there's been a lot of Google updates with the profiles, adding new features, taking some stuff away, again, with the new dashboard. But there's also been a lot of issues where Google is updating things, and people think that Google is God almost, and that every rollout of every feature is going to be perfect. There's been a lot of issues this year where reviews disappear, even your listing disappears or shows up in a different state. You need to pay attention a little bit more to your profile. And what Colin was saying is, now that you have the new in search dashboard, it makes you pay attention a little bit more to what's going on and visually what people see. Definitely search for your brand and see or do keywords that you think you should be showing up. If you're rank tracking, make sure that even though the rank tracker might be showing you first, go ahead and key it in and see if you're really first, or if you're first, but then maybe you're missing features that other competitors have and you don't, because they've added something that you haven't noticed yet. So 100% pay more attention to the Google result for your business and your main keywords. Do an actual search every month and see what's there.
Awesome. Next topic we're going to move on to is content. The question is, how has the Google MUM, multitask unified model, and helpful content update changed how content marketers should write content for websites? Sherry, Could you please take this one?
Yeah, I'm actually knee deep into writing an article for Search Engine Journal about this particular topic, because the way we write content, I think, has changed with these two updates. And basically, Mom is able to see all sorts of media, everything from audio files to videos and images and photos and all those types of things. And so the helpful content update is again meant to make sure that it's going to penalize those keyword stuffed pages that are meant only for Google and reward pages that give searchers quality content that answers the searcher's intent. And so, I think the way writers and SEOs need to think moving forward into 2023 is you need to focus on topics and less on keywords. We, as SEOs, we normally think, okay, what keywords are we going to focus on? We need to focus less on keywords and more on topics. And that's going to help us, come up with a better outline versus just keywords. We need to understand like the searcher intent. What are they really trying to find out? They may ask one question, but that's not all they need to know. They need to know way more things than just that one question. And we need to answer as many questions in whatever we're writing about that particular topic as we can, so that they don't have to bounce off of our page to go find more information. So I think, that's going to be important too. If people come to our site and they read our page, but it doesn't answer everything that they want, and they leave within, a couple seconds, Google knows that. So we want to be able to write enough authoritative content that, Google sees that they stay on our page. And then again, add other media like photos, infographics, videos, audio files. There's tools out there that will actually add an audio file that will actually read a blog post or read the content. Google can understand audio files and video files. So add that type of rich media to your pages if you can.
Let's talk about the use of AI-generated content. And I'm looking at Yan for this one. Could you please take this one, Yan?
Yeah, I've used the chat GPT a bunch of times in the last couple of weeks now. It's amazing. It really is amazing. And it can write lots of things. Like if you're talking about content of a, writing for a local business, like you can say, give me like the top 10 things to write about. It'll give you a list. And then you can like say, okay, write me a 500-page article on this thing. And then you can pump out content like crazy. And so it's going to, I think in the beginning, the people who take advantage of it are going to be ahead, because then they can produce content faster and then get it on the site. But after a while, I think, it's going to even out. Everyone's going to start using, everyone's going to just have so much content. And the weakness with something I'm not saying don't use it, I'm saying use it a lot right now, use it a lot. But one of the weaknesses is that it can't generate any new information. It can only pull in what already exists out there on the internet, and it can't provide anything new. So what I foresee happening is that everyone's going to have, even though they might be different articles, there's going to be a proliferation of the same information over and over and over on all the sites all the time. And what Sherry was saying is how Google is going to distinguish which one is better, since it's all going to be the same, whoever has the newest or more stuff. So if it's not just content, but you have different images, you have videos, you have all or new content information, that's where you're going to get the like you're going to come out on top, because it's just going to be a sea of similar, top 10 FAQ questions and the top 10 service things. And it's always going to be the same stuff. So you have to differentiate yourself. So use it, but try to figure out how can I make this better than someone else who's also using it.
Yeah. And I always say, which tool do you use, John?
Oh, that was the chat GPT thing. It's super amazing.
Yeah. So I played around with a couple, and I have a subscription to Jasper, and they're always adding to it. Jasper's probably one of the most popular ones, but I always say don't ever take it verbatim. Don't take a blog post or content that you've written on an AI tool and plunk it on your site and call it good. You need to massage it. You need to edit it. You need to add your branding tone and voice to it. You need to add your company or your expertise to it, or, like Jan said, it's just going to be everything that everybody else has. So that's where you're going to be able to bring that richness to it. So I use it for ideas. I use it for entity ideas. I use it for subtopic ideas. And some of the time I'm like, crap, I didn't even think of that topic. It makes perfect sense for me to add that. So that's where I use these type of AI tools, and they're great for that type of stuff. So definitely use them, but don't use them verbatim. Like, don't just copy paste and you call it a blog post or call it a, services page or whatever. You definitely need to edit. You definitely need to add your tone of voice and your expertise to it.
I actually have a question about the user intent. So like when you said, try to write an article that covers everything, do you mean that try to cover an article that covers everything for a single user intent or the entire user journey? I mean, is that even possible? Could you please comment?
Yeah, no, I mean, so for instance, the example I'm using for the article that I'm writing is like, how do you attract hummingbirds? So first you need to talk about, where do hummingbirds come, which areas do hummingbirds come from? Then you need to talk about what type of food do hummingbirds like? And then how do you make the nectar? And, oh, gee, did you know that you have to boil the water first? I mean, a lot of people don't realize that. And then you have to, do they prefer plastic or glass? I mean, you have to go through that type of thing. Whereas if you're searching for just keywords, you literally get how to attract hummingbirds to my backyard, how to attract hummingbirds, how to attract ruby red hummingbirds. I mean, when you're searching for just keywords, those are what you get. Whereas when you're searching for topics, you get basically an outline for a piece of content. And so you have to think about when someone wants to attract hummingbirds, it's not just attracting the hummingbirds, it's all those other little things that they need to know about attracting those hummingbirds. Like they're territorial. You have to know that when you're attracting them, because maybe you need to put out 3 hummingbird feeders because in different spots of your yard, otherwise the hummingbirds are going to fight with each other. So those are the things you need to think about when you're talking about user intent and writing a complete article or a piece of content. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I have a follow-up. Say you write an article that completely covers the topic of the hummingbird update, and I post 5 separate articles on the same topic, but like a lot shorter ones. Who would have more success in the SERP?
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, if you have 5 different articles about each different section or about each different topic, you would need to definitely link them together strategically using anchor text. Now, what the 5 different articles means is that person has to jump from page to page to page to page, and they may start reading and then not see that other topic is covered on that page, and they may leave too. So I don't know. I haven't run tests to see which would work better. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think with the concept of, 1 page to rule them all versus 5 pages, I think typically it comes down to if there's enough interest differentiation between the subtopics to break them out. There's enough search volume, interest, etc. Because there's definitely a good use case for 1 page that is all encompassing, that is a linkable asset, and like all these other benefits that could go with it. So it's really going to be case by case, I would think.
Now let's move on and talk about visual search, images, and videos. Visual search will become more prominent. Search is now more multimodal, as in it is able to handle input and output in various formats, including text, images, and sound, which you guys have already touched on. So what is the best way for SEOs and content marketers to prepare for this new way of searching?
Yeah, I'm gonna make this real brief because we talked about this quite a bit. You don't have to have everything on a page, but just try and include the things that make sense. And if you're going to include a video, like for instance, put it towards the top of the page. If you're going to include a photo, make sure it's towards the top of the page, because Google likes to scan from top to bottom, right? So that's why a heading 1 is at the top for the most part. You also want to check your images against, I'm going to give you the URL. It's cloud.google.com/vision. So you want to use original photos, not stock photos. I mean, nobody likes stock photos. If you work at a dental office don't put a stock photo of a dentist office. For goodness sakes, go ahead and hire professional photographer and take pictures of your own dental team. But use the vision tool, drag your photos into that tool and see what Google thinks that picture is a picture of, and make sure they think it's a picture of a dentist, because Google can recognize those types of images. So make sure that they think it's a picture of a dentist and not a picture of a physician or a picture of a mechanic, for instance. So just test those images that way. But yeah, I think we've talked about the visual search and stuff like that, but just try and be smart about how you're optimizing those images, and try and use original images.
And I also wanted to get your thoughts on customer reviews. So the question is, what is the best strategy for getting customer reviews? Since we know that customer reviews do impact local rankings. What are your what are your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I'll go real quick. For instance, Google Business Profile, if you go into the card, there's a card that says get more reviews, and that's in the Google search, and you can actually get a short code. And what you want to do is try and promote that shortened URL, because that will take people directly to your Google Business Profile to leave a review. So put it at the bottom of your signature in your emails and say, how did we do today? Leave us a review or leave us feedback. Put it on your business card. Send out an email to your customers thanking them for your business and asking for reviews. I wouldn't recommend sending out a mass email to all of your customers with that URL, because you definitely don't want to get like 100 million reviews at one time. I don't think there are any studies that show that you'll get necessarily penalized if you get a ton of reviews at once. But get reviews at a steady pace. But there are lots of things you can do. Put that URL by the cash register and ask for reviews. But I think Colan, I think there's more questions that we have about reviews, but definitely try and ask for those reviews. If you ask for them, people will generally leave a review for you if you personally ask them to.
Thanks, Sherry. And I also wanted to ask Colan, what are the most important considerations for business owners when it comes to business reviews? And also, maybe you have any personal experiences that you'd like to share with us about this topic?
Yeah, little bit of a plug, but so at Sterling Sky, we've been publishing quite a bit on reviews lately, and one of the things we really like to do at Sterling Sky is our own testing around things. So I'll share a link, but if you just go to the Sterling Sky site, search for reviews. So there's a little search bar within the website, maybe 7 or 8 blogs we published recently, and they just cover things like, if you upvote reviews, do they stay up higher longer? Does that particular review become more visible for longer? What role do local guides play as far as reviews? Like, are their reviews more potent? That type of stuff. So I would check that out, because it's pretty in depth. And that was over the last couple of months that we started publishing those actual test results from stuff we've done. And then we've baked a lot of that into our processes and the way we kind of guide our clients as far as their review strategies. It can be very beneficial to that as well.
Okay, and what about non-Google reviews? Is there any point in going after them?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what Yan was talking about with really just focusing on the third-party non-Google review sites that get a lot of visibility for your branded searches. And they definitely influence ranking to some degree. Mike Blumenthal did a study, this is going back a couple of years ago, where the words that were in a Yelp review triggered a one box where there was no one box before. So there's definitely Google's reading, scraping third-party reviews and incorporating those in various ways into the search results, for sure.
Appreciate that. And we actually have 2 more topics to cover, e-commerce and the new EEAT, EAT. And speaking of e-commerce, let's discuss Swiss, see what's in store. And Yan, I know that you have some insights on this topic. Could you please share them with us?
Yeah, well, let's see what's in store. That's exactly what I was mentioning before, just to go fast. That's the connection of your inventory to the Merchant Center. Google changed its see what's in store or its inventory. It's just another one of those Google acronyms, Swiss, that confuses people, but it's the same thing.
All right, thanks. Here's another statement. Products will need to be able to be visually searchable. Taking this into account, what are some best practices on making products searchable?
Yeah, I can start. So, we had talked about, especially for e-commerce, you want to make sure that you're using original photos, but you also want to make sure that you're using manufacturer photos as well, because Google likes to see manufacturer photos. I'm assuming, Jan, that has to do with Swiss as well. They like to see the original or the manufacturer photos as well. But for instance, if you're putting them on your website, you may want to have some original photos at different angles, for instance, so people can see what the product looks like at different angles if the manufacturers are providing those photos. And then, like I said, with local businesses, set up your Google Business Profile product so that you can show up in search that way. Make sure you have alt tags and those types of things. Now, with Google Lens, people can now take photos of things, click on the lens, and then click on plus, and then they can also enter keywords into search too. And so Google's just doing lots of things with images and search that way. So I think the more photos you can have on your site with regard to products, especially at different angles and stuff like that, the more Google's going to be able to recognize that your product is the one that someone's searching for. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that.
All right, this has been great. And I want to finish off by addressing the new E in EAT and asking you guys to say a couple of words as the main takeaways for our viewers. So Colan, could you please shed some light on the new E in EAT? And we'll take it from there.
Go ahead, Sherry. I haven't really experience. These are all kind of, if you don't think of I'll go to Sherry in a sec, but I just want to think of it as a holistic thing. Like when we're optimizing, when we're trying to talk about a business, think about how a person would view a business, right? So stop thinking sometimes about the algorithm. We have to think about like what makes a good business, what makes your business attractive or better than a competitor. If you add that in when you're thinking overall your strategy, all this stuff, you won't have to think about the algorithm updates. It's going to come out automatically in your writing, in the way that your business is being promoted.
That's a good point. I mean, Google's basically confirmed that EAT is applied to every single search query. I don't think they've ever really said that it's a ranking factor, but if you think about it, they want to show authoritative content. They want to show now that the entity that's writing the content, the business or the person writing the content, has experience in whatever they're writing about. And that's what the new E stands for. The second E is experience, authority, and then trust. So now we have a longer EEAT. But it just makes sense that it's a core part of their metrics. And so when you are establishing your business, write about content that is part of your core business and part of your core experience and authority. And that's, I think, the main thing that I want to get across is make sure that the people writing your content are experts in what they do. They have the experience to write about it. And then you're going to build up that authority and trust with Google the more you do that.
All right, now let's share those actionable takeaways, summaries, and wishes for next year that you want our viewers to walk away with. Colan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think maybe just commenting on, this new chat AI, and just it's such a hot topic lately, which clearly will spill into next year. And this is one of the first times, like even Wall Street is talking about chat GPT. Because, they're looking at it as a threat to search engines and Google and all this kind of stuff. I would continue to pay very close attention to what's happening on that side of things, because we're sort of inevitably moving towards AI being a bigger part of what we do as SEOs. At the same time, I think the more AI becomes a part of things like content generation and stuff like that, the more opportunity it's going to create to be doing stuff like creating original content, talking with business owners and getting fresh insights about their business that could potentially fuel content ideas and stuff like that. So focus on AI, or keep an eye on it, but don't let it guide your sort of like core strategies, if you will.
Thank you. Yan? Your takeaway, please.
Yeah. So to add to what I was saying is, because things are changing so quickly, and now we have the chat, like, are people going to be searching through that? Or now we have TikTok, like people are searching through that. Find out where, like, how people are searching, because how people are searching is changing, and it might change a lot this year. Different platforms. It's not only Google anymore. You got to add, how did you find my business? What did you use? Like, what did you like? And also, and do a search when you get an answer. Like, get that information from the customers. How did you find me? And then go ahead and try to replicate what they did to see, am I up top? Am I at the bottom? Am I putting my best foot forward? If someone has more reviews than me, you have to, this year there's going to be a lot of changes, I think, in the way people find you. So you have to go and check all those places and see what's going on.
Thank you. And Sherry, could you please close things off?
Yeah, I think there's going to be lots of changes with Google Business Profile in 2023. I think there's going to be lots of feature updates. I think there's probably going to be some interface changes, just because they seem to be changing things all the time. So just keep an eye on your Google Business Profile if you're a local business, and just keep an eye on things, because I think there's going to be changes.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming and taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here with us. Thank you specifically to Sherry, Colan, and Yan for sharing their expertise with us and wishing us giving us great advice for next year. And I want to thank each one of our viewers and audience members for taking the time to listen to this and hopefully walk away with something useful for their SEO campaigns for next year. Thank you, guys, and take care.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Thank you for your time. Be sure to subscribe and join us for the next episode of SEO Rankings Do Follow podcast. Here's to higher rankings.